Alucard's podcast. Listen in.
Alucard's fantasy podcast.
Today we have the luxury of having Alucard's dad and Finn's dad. So Alucard's dad is Matt, and he's on here. He's also called Demolition Dent on this podcast. And then we have Finn's dad, which is, his name is Dean, and he's also called Graviton Flux on this podcast. So I'll start with Graviton Flux. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your love for fantasy and particularly D&D.
My journey started a long time ago, about 13 years old. I ended up, my dad ended up getting custody of me, and I ended up living in his house and next door to this kid that was around the same age, and he had a D&D rule book and dice and whatnot, and I'd never really heard of it. It was very early on, and so we started playing. He was the DM, and I, would be playing. He'd play a character, and I'd play a character, and we'd, it's off to the races since then. Eventually we parted ways, but I'd always been, a fantasy geek, sci-fi, all kinds of nerdy stuff back then, and ended up turning it into an IT career. I wanted to be an architect at one time, and I bought a computer because I couldn't get into the lab to do my work in school, and became a glutton for all things PC, and eventually became a gamer, and the rest of the world caught up with me, and suddenly you got fantasy and sci-fi and D&D games galore in the PC world. So I've been going for about a long time, several decades it seems like. Still love it, still enjoy it. Have a group of friends that we get together every once in a while.
It's awesome. And do you have any crazy stories related to that, or something hilarious where you tried to, I guess, totally do something from the D&D game or be your D&D character in real life, or something hilarious?
Well, I had a fascination with dwarves back in the day, and I played this character at one time. His name was Boulderbrow, and his personality was grumpy, drunk, and horny all the time. And so everything that I ever chose to do had something to do with trying to liven things up and do things in clever ways to get out of sticky situations.
Wow. That's awesome. That's hilarious. Do you have a particular funny instance you want to share? By the way,
especially. It's mainly just me trying to have a good time at it, and I had probably too much fun compared to some of the serious situations that we got into, but
that's awesome. I thought you were going to say you had a fascination with dwarfs, as in you started looking out for some female dwarfs.
Boulderbrow had a thing for about anything that walked.
That's a classic personality to take on. That was your avatar. That's hilarious.
It was a lot of fun. He's still alive. We just don't play much anymore.
Wow. You know what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get a game going. We could actually do a FaceTime game or something with us. Bring Boulderbrow back out.
I love it.
That's a good idea.
I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, we'll figure that out. Okay, so then for my dad, Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself, your interest in fantasy or D&D.
D&D wise? Oh, well, that goes back to when I was, I don't know, would have been about maybe 9 or 8 or something like that. My dad was he was the head of the Department of Sociology for the Australian National University, but he used to do this. The university had a research station down the coast, and it was granted to the National University by a woman called Joy London, and she was well off, and her dad she was an old lady, and she gave her property and all of the There was a big house, like a mansion up the top of the hill, and it had inside of it, you go in and there'd be like lion heads and tiger skins and everything, like old. It was like the late 1800s. Her dad was like a colonial hunter and pioneer. He had all this stuff from South Africa, and he put it all in the house, and there was all this other stuff on the property, and so it got turned into a research station where the university could operate from, doing all sorts of stuff. But they used to have this open day on, and it would go from the Christmas into New Year's, and they would do all this. You have like specialists, like zoologists and birdologists and whatever you call them, ornithologists, and they all come and they do their specialty, and then people would come in, public would come in and look at different displays and stuff like that. They'd catch fish out of the ocean and blue bottles and put them in water tanks and stuff, and they'd have like an astronomer there, they'd have a telescope, all this sort of stuff. And so all the kids of all the scientists I was one of those kids, and there was a lot of places to stay, like little bungalows, little houses all over the place, and so we'd have bunks, and my dad built all the bunks because my dad was he was an academic, but he was also a very good practical man. He was a carpenter, an electrician, plumber, built his own house, built a log cabin when he was 16, and he'd just do everything there, and sort of run the whole thing. So the kids all run amok all over the place. And one of the guys there had a Dungeons. He didn't have anything. He had dice, but we just did it. We made, and I had a cleric. I think it was my first character. But then because I read, Lord of the Rings, and Aragorn was my favorite character. I became a ranger eventually. I've always sort of liked playing rangers since then, for a while, until I got into this more recent stuff, realizing that you needed to have lots of spells. So I took on Druid because you could fight and cast spells. So I really enjoyed recent stuff. But the first games we did were in that time. And then, I think I moved away from it for many years. And then more recently with COVID, there was nothing to do. And then I got invited to play on a game with one of our best mates who was the dungeon master. And he's a world-renowned dungeon master. And we've been playing ever since online, and I've had a lot of fun, and it kind of made COVID not only bearable, but actually, come on, bring it. If we had the money to sit on our asses and play D&D for the rest of my life, I probably would. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, you can refer to me as Alucard on here. That's how people know
Alucard,
me.
yeah,
and our friend he's talking about is actually Obsidian Blackbird. And he's the DM. He's the Grandmaster DM. He's got a lot of blogs on the internet about him, and I think even some awards or recognitions on it. So he's
seriously
like 40, 45 year
Lucked
DM.
out there.
That's amazing. I won't spread that around, but that's really cool.
But you can spread it around. He'll love it.
Okay. Oh, okay. That I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had some really funny times, really funny games. Like even the rap that plays at the end of this that I use for the outro for the podcast is a rap about me and Matt's characters. The way that Obsidian Blackbird does the games is it's so dangerous and it's so real in a way that it feels more real, and also it's very gritty, and you just end up in these like crazy situations doing really funny things, and really funny things happen. It's a lot of fun. I remember the campaign that we started just then was that the rap is about is literally we started shipwrecked on an island with nothing. We had no weapons, not even a dagger. And we were just level 1 characters. I was a level 1 warlock. He was a level 1 ranger.
No, I was level 2.
And
I was sorry.
So you're level 2. That's fine. This drunken orc pirate that was probably like maybe a level 4 or something, or 5. It was pretty damn tough. And he was just walking into the surf towards us and just sees us and starts attacking us. And he had a sword, and we ended up fighting him in the surf, and it was really bloody and gory, and just we only had rusty chains that we'd torn out from our manacles from the ship, and we're just smashing him in the head with these chains and manacles. and just beating him to death in the waves and holding him under the surf until he drowned, and he finally died, and we were just like, we were exhausted after playing. It was so funny. That's what his games can be like sometimes, you know.
That's
Crazy.
so great.
I think the funniest situation that actually happened there was where we got taken into a side realm, like an elemental, earth elemental realm that was actually built by a lich. And he was psychotic, and he basically had killed his adventure party, his other friends, like hundreds of years before, and he was still looking for them. And he was bringing adventurers into his realm to test them out, to see if they would be his partners, and then he was going to basically turn them into stone. And he was doing all these experiments and turning creatures into stone. And our characters rocked up, and he was like, "Oh, you must be my adventurer friends, you know, from the party." And he was totally insane. Like, he had no time sense, so he didn't know that his friends were all dead and that he'd killed them 500 years ago. And he thought we were them. And we had to pretend to be his friends and live in this castle with him. And we were just like going, he's going to kill us any moment. And we're like lying to him and fooling him and pretending to go along with him. And right at the end, we had to pretend to undergo an experiment where he'd change us into stone. And so we actually had to, my character was able to he was a stone druid, so he could actually make himself look stone. And so we had to go into this device that changed us into stone, and then the other guy had to distract him so that he could step out and look like he had gone into this thing and turned to stone, and then pretend to be stone, all the while like fooling this guy. And then he goes, "Oh, my experiment," because we made him think that we'd changed, and then we had to live with him pretending that we'd changed and fooling him all the time and rolling to basically trick him that we hadn't. And that was so good. And then as soon as we got a chance, we were like bolted out of there, ran off into the hills, and
it was crazy.
Yeah, that was best.
Doing stealth checks all the time.
That's so awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah, he was actually a stone lich, so he was part stone, and he would just look at you and have this crazy blue eyes, and his half his face was stone, and little bits of him would crumble off when he like talked to you, and he just had a really quirky character.
Yeah, he said when he smiled,
so creepy.
When he smiled, it sounded like gravel crunching.
Yeah, it was so creepy. And my character literally I think he just had a high deception check and a minor illusion spell, and I put up this minor illusion in front of the character that looked like a stone version of me. Because what he was trying to do was he was a stone lich and he'd actually survived, but everyone else he tried to do it to just turned to stone and died. So we then basically made it look like we turned to stone and then survived, so he thought we were stone liches as well. And then he finally went to sleep, and we basically have this thing where I have a spell of gliding. So we couldn't fly, but I could glide. So we jumped off his tower and glided across the landscape, and every 20 miles, we'd basically cast a spell of levitation and then another spell of gliding and do another 20 miles. And we did it all the way till I used up all my spells. We got across his entire realm in the space of 4 hours instead of a 5-day trek. And then we made it to this portal before he woke up as the sun was rising. It was crazy.
And the funny thing is, that time, because we were in COVID, in lockdown, and you didn't really have anything else to do, it became the world, and we were in that world for that time. And that was probably one of the best, I reckon, one of the best times that I've had in this life,
Wow. That's a really good D&D game.
Yeah. And those memories,
that's a great
because I imagined it so well that they're a bit more real than the memories of my real life, actually.
Wow. Well, that's just another example of how fantasy can uplift people in tricky situations instead of, I guess, getting hooked onto drugs or something bad like a lot of people did during COVID,
Yeah, for sure.
I had a few wines during COVID, I can say that. I think because I read Michael Mosley's book, he mentioned that a glass of wine a day was apparently good for the microbiome. So I went, yeah, no worries, I'll go in agreement with that, and started drinking it. Probably
more than a glass
Extra
a
cleanse
day.
on the gut.
They can turn out that way.
I don't think it did very good for the microbiome of my brain, though. It was kind of, yeah.
Dad, we've got to get back into playing D&D. Those stories just made me want to do that so bad. Like, I don't know why we have played so few times.
Yeah, I wanted to say just from this conversation, it's such a cool thing that D&D is. We got two dads here that played it for at least started 30 years ago and still like it, and now we got the sons. We can play it together. We're still interested in it. And it's just such an amazing game of creation where it just never gets old,
30 years ago, you were too kind on that point.
Oh, whatever it was, 40 or something. 47. Yeah, 47. Something like that.
Far enough back.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
That reminds me of a time when I was younger, and back when my grandparents were still alive. They lived in the country, and they had a couple hundred acres of just timber. For a kid about 14, 15 years old, it was like prime imaginary playground, trying to relive or whatever. And I always kind of played as though I was, some kind of a ranger, like Dent was mentioning about Aragorn, traipsing through the medieval land, trying to, hunt down imaginary creatures. And there's this one time where, and usually I had the best times when it was cold, because back in those days, my dad and I used to go to these things called rendezvous, and we had buckskins and kits that camping gear and whatnot, and I'd always take that out to my grandparents' place, and I found this place out in the woods, and it was if you can imagine a grassy area, tall hip high grass that kind of the green was gone out of it, and it looked more like standing straw. And in the center of this kind of a field, in kind of an open area in the timber, there were the stand or copse of aspen trees that were just kind of clumped there together. And that was like the the Fortress of Solitude, or some respite that I always would go to. And it was, the skies were this perfect blue and the clouds were starkly white, and I just had the greatest times imagining myself doing something other than just being a kid having to go to school all the time.
That's cool. Good description. Yeah, super nice. Yeah. Reminds me.
The only thing I didn't have was a real sword.
Thank goodness.
Reminds me of me and my friend. One time his dad got so sick of us being inside playing video games when we were about 14. His dad was this big Maori warrior. Maori is like an islander, in the air from New Zealand, and he was a full Maori warrior with tattoos and a missing finger that was chopped off, and he just wore cargo army pants all the time and SWAT boots, and he wore this little vest of crocodile skin that and I'd pointed out to him, hey, there's a hole in your vest, and he looks at me with his crazy eyes and he goes, yeah, that's where I shot the crocodile. And so he actually shot the crocodile and took that portion where the bullet hole was and he carved it out and made it into a vest. And that's all he would wear. And it had no lining or anything. It was just straight crocodile leather and this crazy little vest. And he had big bone earrings, and his hair was really long down to his arse, straight black hair with the sides of his temples shaved. And I'd seen him do really crazy stuff, attack people with axes or guns or knives if they tried to mess with his family and stuff. And he was a real warrior.
Deal then.
Yeah, he was a real deal. And but pretty nice guy as long as you didn't mess with him or his family, basically. But he was still scary because he was actually I was going out with his daughter, so it was some scary moments. Scary moments, because he'd make these comments all the time, like, yeah, and she's not gonna do nothing until she's married, and she's gonna go marry a good Maori boy in New Zealand, and stuff like that. And he just dropped these comments in front of me randomly, and then one time I was sleeping in. Me and the brother would sleep in this one room, and then the girl's room was on the other side of the lounge room. And her dad took to basically made this bed on the floor in the lounge room between her room and the boys' room. And so if I wanted to go visit her in the night, I literally was tiptoeing around him sleeping in the middle of the bed in the middle of the lounge room on the floor. And it was so scary, man. It was the scariest thing I ever did. It was because I'd be in the dark.
So you did.
Yeah, I'd sneak
so
through.
You did sneak, but
of course.
That was pretty ballsy.
Yeah, and one day I'm sneaking past and he's there and sleeping on his back, and then he just suddenly just calls out his daughter's name really loudly, and I just froze. He just went back to sleep, and then I kept going and I snuck past.
That's a real life D&D situation. It's like the troll. Having to sneak past the troll or the ogre.
Yeah.
That was your nat 20.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Goodness.
Yeah, and anyway, and then we were that was the guy, and he came in, get off these games, get outside, get productive or whatever, get out, and he kicked us off the games, me and the brother. We went outside and we're like, crap, what do we do now? And we were just playing Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Oblivion a lot, and it was so good.
Yeah.
Also World of Warcraft, and now we were like, what do we do? So we literally just started walking into the forest, and we ended up basically becoming these feral shaman kids. And we had these walking sticks, and we dressed them up with this dead bird feather. We found a dead bird and ripped these feathers off it and put it all over the sticks. And then we found this shrine with this like tree, and we started decorating this tree stump in the middle of this clearing with like all these feathers and different things. Like, just went mental. And then we ended up getting so bored that we just thought, what do we do now? So then we just made these spears out of wood, out of these big sticks, and we started just throwing spears at each other in the forest. So now we're standing there throwing spears at each other back and forth, blunt spears, and we were just practicing dodging them. So he would throw a spear, I would dodge it, and we went back and forth and definitely got hit a couple of times with them. And then we dug this hole in the forest, and it was like maybe 2 or 3 feet deep and only like a foot wide. And then we like put sticks over it and then leaves, and it looked totally perfect, and just forgot about it, right? And then we went into the deep forest and just started throwing logs at each other and sticks at each other over trees and between trees, and just smacking each other's sticks. And then I got this really chunky, gnarly, kind of roughed up piece of log, and I threw it, like I lobbed it high over a fork in the tree above us. Like the fork was right, he was hiding behind this tree, and I lobbed it over the fork way up high, and then I just hear this crack, and it came down right on his face, and now he's crying and tore a big chunk out of his forehead, and his face was all scratched up and bleeding, and I thought, oh, his dad's going to kill me. So we're going back, and we're all terrified, like how angry he's going to be at us. And he looks at us, and he just looks at him, and his face is all torn up and bleeding, and he goes, what the hell are you guys been doing? And we just answered honestly, we're just throwing sticks at each other in the woods. And he just looks at us, like, yeah, good men, good men. Then he just goes back to working on his car. So he loved it. Yeah, he loved it. Yeah. Funny side note on that story, about 2 years later, their uncle moves in, and they didn't have enough rooms for him, so he goes camping in the forest. One day he comes back limping, and he goes, some frickin' assholes dug a hole in the forest.
No.
He'd stepped in the foot trap that we made and sprained his ankle. And then me and the brother just were totally silent. We never told him that was us.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
I had an exact game like that where but in our game we had a few mates, and one bloke would go down into a riverbed, and the rest of us would throw spears at him that we kind of crafted, and you had to, if you were down in the riverbed, you had to dodge all the spears. And this one mate, I threw the spear and it hit him in the eye, and it was just above his eyeball in his forehead. but it stuck in, and it looked like it was stuck in his eye. And I remember we all just freaked. Like, it was like, oh no, I've just basically taken my mate's eye out, and it was just hanging out of his forehead, and it looked like it was hanging out of his eye. And then we ran down and sort of found out it was only in his forehead. But yeah, he had a little scar from then on.
There you go.
Wow.
Good fun.
Oh my God.
Good
I'll
stuff.
stick with walnuts and rocks.
Yeah.
What about you, Finn? What's your D&D?
Well, I'll start with something we did in real life. Follow that trend of very dangerous games played outside. Dad, I'm pretty sure you know about this, but I'm hoping that this is not the first time you're hearing about it. So, my siblings and I'm the oldest of four, and there's 2 girls, 2 boys. We, had plenty of friends to play with outside, right? Just the 4 of us. We did all kinds of stuff together, and we would put together these games. I'd tell these stories about, these magical elven kingdoms of which we were the defenders, or but we'd have to have bad guys, right? So we would flip coins to see who would be the bad guy, and I for years manipulated the coin toss to make my brother and my oldest sister the bad guys all the time. And it was just because they were good at it. But
yeah, sure.
One time we got a little carried away. I got my brother on my side, so we were the good guys, and we were really mad at the girls that day, so we made them the bad guys. And we got the bright idea to take these plastic frisbees and sharpen them, because we had just seen oh, Dad, help me. What's that old 80s dark fantasy movie with the guy, he's got the boomerang, and that's his weapon?
Or,
Beastmaster?
It's something.
I know.
It's got to be, right? Yeah.
No,
or
no.
It's the boomerangs. It's like a bladed boomerang.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Troll.
It's not Cull,
it's like
right?
something.
It's not Cull? Is it Cull?
It's Kroll. Kroll or
Kroll.
Cull or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. We had just seen that, and so we were like, man, throwable weapons. Like, that'd be so cool. And so we took these plastic frisbees and we, with like sandpaper, sharpened the edges of them, and we had the bright idea to use them against the girls.
Oh, bad idea.
And this is not good. I don't condone this at all. But it is what happened.
But they were the evil ones,
so we were,
so that it was all right.
Yeah, they were the bad guys. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they lost the coin toss. Like, what are you gonna do? So we threw these frisbees, and it was like the girls were like kind of dodging, and we sort of telegraphed the throws, but then I really threw one, right, and it hit my sister in the face, and she screamed and fell to the ground and was screaming, and I'm thinking, it's over. It's over. I'm not just gonna get killed by my dad. I might go to prison. We were all I don't know, 12, or I think I was 12 or 13, and they were 4 years staggered ages. But she had cut her lip I had cut her lip with the frisbee. See, I'm still avoiding the blame, but yeah, she still has a scar to this day.
Well, that's what that came from.
Did you know that, Dad? Are you serious?
I don't have a conversation.
Oh no. I was thinking about that when I was like, this is a 50-50 shot if she's told him, because I'm not sure if I ever did, but
oh, this is great material, guys.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
Happy that my greatest sins could be
That's the best place for it.
No, it's hilarious. We did a lot of stuff like that. We put together a lot of stories, and it was so fun. It's like we would do collaborative storytelling, sort of like playing D&D, but just kind of no rules, just making it up as we go along.
Yeah.
Seeing it from the outside, really, I mean, you telling that story reminds me of a number of times where, I was always working in the yard or getting home at night or something like that, and I would always catch you guys, in the middle of this grand scale I'd just lean against the wall on the outside of the room or somewhere in the yard and, listen to the story that was being told by all of you. Drake was usually the one that, Finn was the one that was usually driving the storyline, and everybody had their role to play, and it was kind of an ad hoc D&D exercise with the four of them because, and it was a continuation of the last time that they got together. It's like every weekend or something, they would always have this exercise, doing play acting this thing. And it's really cool that, the interweave between the storytelling and D&D and, just the glee of watching them go through that experience and carrying it with them into adulthood.
Yeah, some of those stories we told together, I still owe my siblings so much because some of those stories have now become stories I'm writing now. And of course, they've changed quite a bit. They've gotten hopefully a little bit better, but the foundation is still there. It's pretty phenomenal.
Right on. Matt, you got to tell them the story about my first poem that I made, which I didn't even know about till yesterday.
God.
You just told me.
Oh, please do.
When I was 2 years old. Just tell them the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a bit over 2, and I won't tell them the whole thing. That's for sure. Incriminating, but I was staying at a friend of mine's place, and they were brewing beer, and there was these big, like, I don't know, bottles, like they're not bottles, like a plastic container, like a petrol size, 20-liter container, and I don't know what that is in gallons, but
6 gallons or something.
they got these big brewing,
Yeah, I was gonna say 5. Yeah, about right.
yeah, big brewing stations in there, and we'd never brew beer properly because we were always running out before it would become properly finished, and so we were always drinking beer, trying to catch up with our brewing operation by drinking it faster than what we could make it, right? and so consequently,
wait isn't that what you're supposed to do?
You'd never.
That's the plan.
Yeah, you'd never really get drunk, but you drink a lot of beer. It wasn't working for us very well. But anyway, there were these big things there, and so we gave up trying to drink our own beer and went and bought a few beers, and went camping with us. And I had this new girlfriend, and so we were drinking a few beers, and then kind of went a bit out of control. We're camping next to this river, and something called the brewing stations, like these brewing bottles, water bombs for some reason. He was going water bombs, and anyway, we got to this place. We're having a few beers, and then someone put their beer down and got hold of it and sculled down. It was about like half a beer bottle for a 2.5-year-old kid. He was like a sailor, like a drunken sailor. He was rolling all over the ground, rolling on top of me, falling over, and then he started to sing this song that he just made up on the spot, and it was old man tree, drank too much wine, too much beer, fell into the river, and then he started, and the chorus line was the water bomb, buck bung, water bomb, and he was singing. He was singing this song about the beer brewing operation. It was hilarious.
That's the best thing I've heard.
Wow.
And he was singing it like a drunken pirate, right? He was old man tree, drank too much beer, too much wine, fell into the river.
God, that's so funny. I didn't even know about that till yesterday. Wow. So I was a poet, I was a drunken poet even at 2 years old.
Inspiring.
That's some serious bragging rights right there. That's amazing.
I
I
gotta
did the
post
same
that.
thing. I was 2.5 years old in Ireland. My parents took me there, and I was at a St. Pat's Irish party, and I'd go around, and in Ireland it didn't matter. You'd walk around, and I'd take sips of green beer off all the various people at the party until I was until I knock myself out.
Yeah, I'd like to hear what
That's
songs you were
awesome.
singing. Yeah. We're going to play a game on here, which is World Jam, the Round Robin Fantasy Forge. That's the name I made up for it. And basically, we're going to do a live world building session, and we play this game and answer questions. And at the end of it, we'll have a fantasy world with a couple of characters and some funny stories.
I'm really excited for this.
Yeah? Yeah, I'm going to read you the rules. Basic rules, so it's going to go in a set order. I'll start with one person, and then it'll be the next person's turn, and then the next person, then me, and I'll ask the question. So each person will get their own question that they have to answer. On your turn, you must answer a world-building prompt and attempt to work it in and build on what has already been created by the previous people. If you feel stuck, you can choose one of three options. So there'll be three different categories, and you get to choose which one you want to answer. If you're really stuck, you can choose to trade with another player and swap for a different question that they might have. And you can also choose from one of the early categories that weren't used by another player if you want to. There are no right answers. There's no way to lose this game. It's just total fun and creation. You guys ready?
Yeah.
You
ready.
bet.
All right. So I'm going to start with Finn. So it'll be Finn will be number 1, Matt will be number 2, and Dean will be number 3, and then Alucard will be number 4. So Finn, Foundations of the World. So this is the general category. Question 1, what is the geography of the world? Mountains, oceans, continents, islands, floating land masses, etc. That's one question. Second question possibility, what is the dominant climate or biome? Tundra, jungle, desert, volcanic plains. Or number 3, name one major region or land and describe it. Can be political, geographic, or magical. So those are your 3 questions. Let me know if you need to hear them again.
Okay, so the first one is the... tell me the first one again.
What is the geography of the world?
Geography, let's do a small moon with a lot going on. We're going to have a very thin atmosphere, and also very low gravity. And we're going to do sort of like very moon sand. I'm thinking kind of like dune, but like grayish, bluish sand, broken up by very rocky outcroppings and canyons. Sort of like
awesome.
Like that's what I'm kind of feeling. That's my first vision of this world. That way it'll be a little smaller, and we'll have we don't have to come up with so many different continents.
I love it.
What's the second one?
Well, that's it. That's you've answered the question. Okay.
Got you. Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You get to pick one of the 3, and then someone else can use the other ones later if we need to, or we're going to go to the next section. All right. So now we're going to Demolition Dent. And 2, overall category is life and culture. So you can choose from one of these 3 questions. What are the dominant intelligent species or races on this moon world? Or describe one city, settlement, or cultural hub on the moon world, or invent one cultural tradition or festival that's practiced on this moon planet.
Dominant species.
Okay.
It's a moon planet. They've got to be small. There's not much space. So there's these little, and it's a thin atmosphere. So these things eat moon rocks, and then they fart the atmosphere out. So they're proud of their own atmosphere by their own farts, and then they breathe their own farts.
That's terrible. But okay. But how did they breathe before they farted the atmosphere into existence?
Magic.
Love it.
They got 4 heads, and they. Yeah, I don't know what can we call them.
They have 4 heads?
Yep, 4 heads and a slug body.
Oh, okay.
And they play music like with rocks.
With rocks?
Yeah, they got like rock. That's their whole culture is based around using rocks to do like various things with. That
Okay.
other side.
Okay, love it. Okay, awesome. All right, now we're going on to Dean. Person 3, myth and mystery. Invent a major religion or belief system. What is one myth or legend told by the people? Or 3, describe a magical phenomenon or law of reality on this world. And now you can obviously add to what he's already made and add, you can change it, you can add to it, basically build on top of it.
Oh, I think there's a phenomenon that happens every solar cycle, I guess I'd just call it, that happens with these creatures. There comes a time where the music that they create with rocks is such a cacophony, and it's all because their mating season has come on. And the phenomenon is that the music that they're creating is actually mating calls, and they've been practicing all the way up to this event to find a mate by playing the most extravagant music that they could ever come up with and create the most extravagant scent that they can come up with. And it lasts. Is there a moon on around this tiny? I guess this is a moon. I guess already.
It is a moon, and you could add another moon onto it if you want to. You can. It's not limited. Your answers aren't limited.
Moons can have moons.
So the mating season lasts about what we would call a month, and the moon appears blue during this period. And the deeper the blue, the more fervent the mating season is, and all of a sudden you have all of these little rocks running all over the place that grow legs and foreheads eventually. And the phenomenon is whenever we come up with a name for these little creatures, we can come up with a name for the phenomenon.
Nice.
What
I love
the hell? I love it.
Okay, awesome. All right, now we're going to go down to... Okay, so I've got strangeness and danger. Create one strange creature. Describe a conflict or war, or name one forbidden or cursed place. Okay, so I'm going to describe a conflict or war. And so basically on this planet, on this moon planet, with these creatures, so basically I'm going to say that the people who now live on this moon planet actually find out that the creatures, the slugs with 4 heads that are really small on this moon, actually they didn't really need the air to breathe. They have a form of gill system that when they devour the rock, they actually absorb little bits of oxygen and minerals from the rock and use that to breathe. And then they pump it out, the gills. And when they fart, they actually created the atmosphere over, millions of years existing on here before this other race of people came. And they actually made the atmosphere so that it could then become livable by another race than themselves. And basically now there's these kind of space colony type of people that have created cities on this moon, and they're very kind of like compact cities, very busy and just full of like action and really condensed, and crazy ghettos and slums in there because it's so condensed, kind of like even like built on top of each other like Tokyo and stuff like that, or Japanese cities where it's just really condensed in tons of buildings with all these little units. And they're expanding their city, but the little creatures, I don't know if anyone wants to come up with a name, but we could call them Rockbites, maybe just Rockbites, if everyone's happy with that, because that's what they do. And maybe they have their own name for themselves that's different, but it's hard to get the human concept of it, maybe. But for the humans that have arrived on here, these colonialists, they call them Rockbites. And the Rockbites start getting really pissed off at the humans for expanding on their territory and building this steel. They don't like steel, they like rock. They hate steel, and they're building a lot of steel platforms to base the cities on, because the rockbites will always like chew up and move around the rock underneath to destroy the foundations. So the humans are constantly injecting poison gases and stuff that's porous into the porous stone beneath the cities to like keep the rockbites away. And then they build these steel platforms on top and start expanding the city. And the rockbites are getting really pissed off, and so they basically, I guess the way the war went down is the rockbites just start creating these crazy little screeching sounds that are they sound really big and ferocious on a microscopic level when you're down there with the rockbites, but when you zoom out, nothing's really happening. It's just like a faint buzzing to the human walking around, and the rockbites, and then the rockbites start moving bits of rocks around and creating a big ruckus, and then the humans don't really notice at all, and the rockbites just screaming down there having this intense war, and the humans just walking across the landscape to take a piss. And for the rockbites, it was like all these like people getting killed and stepped on, and like giant torrential flood coming down and wiping them out, and it's like a famous big war for them. But for the humans, it was just someone taking a piss on the moon. And that was the famous Rockbite War.
So they're super small.
Yeah, really small, like little leeches. Yeah, little snails.
Okay.
And the humans and the Rockbites take pleasure in knowing that the humans don't know that they're just sucking in their farts 24/7.
Nice.
This is great.
So that's where it's up to now. So now we'll go to the next question. Okay, now we're going to introduce actual characters. So now it's back to Finn. So first question would be introduce one character, hero, villain, or fool, etc. Give a name, a quirk, and their goal. Or describe a magical object or artifact. What does it do? Who wants it? Or create an interesting scene. You know, it could be a scene ongoing in this setting that we've laid out right now. So which one would you like to do? The scene could also have a character. Huh. You could mix them together a little bit, I guess. You know, this is just for you.
Yeah, I think I'll do a character and I'll mix in some scenes here.
Yeah.
So let's do, a human character or a rockbite character. That's a tricky choice there. Let's do a. Okay, so, if we're all in agreement, let's assume that the humans have no idea that the rockbites are even sentient at all. So it's just the rockbites have this infinite hatred for humankind, spoiling their planet, and they, are always trying to create worse and worse farts because they want the humans to suck down this air that is their farts, and it's their only way of fighting. The humans have no idea. They just think the air smells bad on this moon, and they think it's just poor living conditions, and they complain all the time. So let me do a rockbite character. Okay, so we're gonna do his name is unpronounceable by human tongues, but we're gonna call him Bradbury just for his this is what he became to be known as. Bradbury. It was the closest translation. Nothing else was available. So Bradbury the rockbite, he had a he dug his way into a human settlement and basically made his home in a AC unit, and he proceeded to eat a diet of the worst rocks imaginable. We're talking borderline mud, the worst minerals a rockbite could find.
Sulfur.
And his farts got so bad. There you go. Yeah, his farts got so bad that the humans in this settlement thought that they were being poisoned, and sure enough, they were. So he managed to kill an entire settlement of humans, and that's when they realized that the rockbites were sentient and that they hated them. And so maybe this is like what kicked off the war, or maybe the war on both sides after they got.
Let's say
I'm going to stop there.
Let's say this. Yeah, put four guys in a room, and we're just talking about a war between guys farting on one and the other one pissing on them. Look what happened.
I should have known it would
Just a
turn to
fart
this.
piss ball. But let's say that this came after the Great War, where the guy took a piss because the humans didn't know anything about him right then, and the Rockbites were harboring the hatred. So now your guy is the Rockbite rebel hero called Bradbury. So it's Bradbury the rebel fighting back.
Bradbury's family was killed in the piss war.
Yep, that's right.
Yep, gotta be. Has to be done.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Love it. Next time I'm gonna have at least one girl on here.
Yeah, that would control it a little bit more. Control the narrative would.
Okay. Good. Okay. So, Demolition Dent, you have name and describe one major region, of land, this particular region, like a unique region on this moonworld, and name it and describe it and get into detail on that.
All right. The Great Canker, that's the name.
Okay, I like it, yeah.
And it's like a massive meteor crater, which is actually an entire realm. And it's segregated from the rest of the other realms on the planet. And nobody elsewhere has any access to it. And it's a completely separate region of beings that are kind of into worshipping the great meteor, and there's special rock dust that came from that particular meteor, which you can't get anywhere else, and they eat that, and that gives them special powers. They can actually retain the gas that they create in their systems from eating that, and then do really big farts.
Oh God!
But they use them as propulsion systems. It's like these little four-headed.
Didn't we say that this had low gravity too?
Little four-headed
That's right.
slugs that actually now learn how to fly using that special system, and then they have a really good air force. No one else has the same technology or the fuel systems that they have.
Air Force has a whole new meaning for me now.
I can never think of it correctly again.
It's what are the Rockbite, the RBFF fart force. It's the RB fart force. The RBFF. No one can get them, and no one can defeat them. So they basically set up a realm where they don't let anybody else come into, and that's that realm.
Okay, nice. So when any human tries to approach that, they just get buffeted by a hot waft of disgusting gassy air and just back up.
Yeah, it's too gross to live in that area.
Okay. All right, good. All right, we're back to Dean now. Okay, describe one city, settlement, or cultural hub, or invent one cultural tradition or festival.
I'll describe a city because I kind of have an inkling for the city is kind of like if you think of a very compact, densely populated city that has a lot of alleyways, very tall apartment stacks. There's not a lot of doesn't seem to be a lot of transportation. A lot of people tend to, because there's so many short distances to get to things. But it's kind of a cyberpunk kind of environment. The populace there are probably the most obnoxious on this planet. They kind of live dirty, I would say, kind of a filthy kind of. There's a lot of neon signs and whatnot, but then you've got this ambience of all these street food carts all over the place, and you can smell all these scents of things cooking, and you go through the alleyways to get to places, and there's clothing hanging everywhere. wastewater rolling down the center of the paths. Just kind of a filthy city, but it's so overpopulated that the stench in this city is overwhelming, unless you were born and raised there.
And what did you say the city was called? Sorry?
That's a good question. For some reason, Metronome comes to mind, but
Let's do it.
one of a better one. I'll stick with that.
I think that's awesome.
I like it.
It's a cool name.
And so, yeah, it's a filthy city, hugely overpopulated, very cranky people. They do not bathe very often, and if they do bathe, it's probably due to some kind of, I'd say, self-imposed weather system that kind of, washes out a lot of the stink and waste that's, becomes stuck to the walkways and pathways. And the wastewater tends to get into the ground in the most appalling way, because the rockbites cannot go near the city. The water permeates the ground. They hate the taste of the rocks around this city. It's almost repugnant to them. So these people don't even know what a rockbite is. They've heard stories, rumors, legends of little beings that eat rocks, but they've never really truly seen them.
Okay, awesome. Love it. Okay, good. What's that?
It's this is boiling down to be, it's all about what kind of diet the rockbites have and whether or not they're stinking up the place. I love it.
Yeah, it's got a kind of twisted metal feel to it, or something weird, like a cyberpunk twisted metal sci-fi world where it's just a really gritty, dirty kind of cyberpunk sci-fi world. It's pretty cool.
I like it. I like where this is headed.
Yeah. Okay, so back to me. Okay, so describe a magical phenomenon or law of reality. So basically, on this moon, and you said there's another moon that also has rock bites on it. There's a smaller moon of this moon, and when they're mating, it looks blue, and so the bluer it is. So I guess there's some kind of effluvia or something being set off, or they do something to make this blue color appear in the atmosphere, maybe the style of their farts or whatever. And so this phenomenon occurs every month when it's during the mating season, where the moon does look blue on the other moon, as well as this planet that we're actually on, which we need to come up with a name for. It would also look blue to the other one, but you can't notice when you're on it. But what does occur is there is maybe both sides, the rock bites are vibrating so much in their singing and their mating dances and stuff that there is an attraction between a sympathetic vibration starts occurring between both of the moons, and there's almost like a carrier wave that develops between the two moons during that time. And the gravity gets even less basically on both of the moons. And so people, if you're not careful during that mating season, if you just jumped with a lot of effort, you might just keep floating upwards and continue out through this like a slit stream, kind of like a riptide, and it sucks you over to the other moon. And
Cool.
Yeah, and if you're not careful, you could float off to the side and into space and die. But because of this thing, you can catch it like a ride. And so the youth of this planet in the cities, there'll be like a lot of robberies occurring around that time because people are distracted or hiding in their houses or whatever, and you have extra mobility. So there'll be like these crazy thieves that are really they'll get like little grappling hooks in different ways to move around with the low gravity. and they'll jump really high to escape the police and like fling themselves around loops around different towers and hook onto things. And if they mess up, they'll fly off into space and disappear. And there's this crazy police chases that go on every month like that. And the police are a little bit more conservative and scared, so they don't die. But it's harder to catch the criminals that are really skilled, like these like ninja, like cyberpunk kind of dudes flying around the towers and stuff. And then there's also another betting game where like youth coming up or gangs and stuff that they want to be initiation. They have like a kind of like a dangerous game where they jump across to the other moon and then try and jump back. And if you mess it up, you'll fly off to the side and get sucked into space, or you won't make it back from there because you don't have the timing right. And you get stuck on the moon and starve or something.
Now we're cooking. This is great.
Yeah.
Hell of a twist.
Yeah. Well, that's just one magical...
Cyberpunk. I like it.
Just one magical phenomena or law of reality there. Bam. Okay. So it's back to Finn again. Create one strange creature or name one forbidden or cursed place.
Let me keep building off of what you were doing there. So to the humans, the mating moon of the Rockbites is forbidden and cursed. So if you do, like, in this reverse gravity polarization or whatever, you'll fly up to the moon, and if you get stuck there, people pretty much assume you're dead, because it's not for danger of the Rockbites. It's because the atmosphere there literally kills you because of the Rockbites' farts. So it's just so incredibly toxic on this other moon where they're all concentrated, that it's this deadly, almost irradiated zone. However, you can go there, and maybe that's where the first human settlement was. So maybe there's some ruins that you could loot. So maybe there is some kind of pull, but it's like really, it's definitely officially forbidden. But maybe some intrepid explorers go up there.
Nice. Cool, yeah. Some gas masks or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So that's a place on the other moon. That's what you're saying, right? It's a
yes.
one.
Sorry, yeah, that's the place. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the orbiting moon, the mating moon.
Yeah, and what's the name of this forbidden place then?
Oh, yeah, we need to name it. So, well, feel like first we need a name for the main moon. Do we have that yet? No, we don't. Let's. I
think we can name that at the end, maybe.
Yeah, let's name it at the end. The moon, the area, needs to be something sort of on the nose.
What about this for the main moon, guys? Just call it Planet Sump.
Call it what?
Yeah, Sump. Planet Sump.
Planet Sump?
Let's do it.
I like it.
And then we'll call the moon Pump.
Gas trap could be the name for the outer moon.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Gaslight.
Gaslight.
Because it glows.
No. Yeah, gas trap.
What do you think, Finn?
I think gaslight. That's funny.
Okay, he likes gaslight. That's his question, so we'll stick with. So we'll do
Had to
gaslight.
steal it. That was good. Thank you, though.
Yeah. All right. Good. So now we're back to
Me.
So I think, back to you. We don't have too many questions left here. Let's see what I got for you. Invent one cultural tradition or festival. That isn't done yet. There's also invent a major religion or belief system, which we touched on a little bit with that, the meteorite people. There's also one myth or legend told by the people. That one's open.
Oh, yep. I might pass.
What about create one strange creature?
I can take that one if you want.
Yeah, do it.
Strange creature.
Yeah. Okay.
There's, and maybe this is kind of a twofer, but there's a region on this planet that is basically desert. It's wind blown. It's hotter than normal. It is more arid. And the atmosphere is thin, right, on this moon. Is that correct? There's a legend of a creature that exists out there in this desert region. Few have seen it. many have talked about it. Kids get scared when they're told to go to bed after hearing this story. But there's a creature that supposedly has the ability to fly, but you can barely see its wings. It's got an elongated body. It looks like it has more than 2 or 4, appendages like arms or legs or whatever. You could imagine it being kind of like looks like what might be called here a dragonfly, but the wings are so gossamer like that they're the ability of this creature to fly silently throughout that region allows it to be an excellent hunter, and it will lay eggs. The story goes that it lays eggs when it finds nests of rock bites, and when the babies are born, they feed on the little villages of these rock bites. And if any human dares to, tread in that region, they fear for their lives because they can't hear it coming. But it's big enough to tackle them and bring them to the ground. And whoever's disappeared in that region, the story goes is that they've been captured or eaten by this creature.
Okay.
But they've seen evidence of these nests being destroyed and look like they've been destroyed by the offspring of this creature.
Oh, killing off the humans and the rock bites. Okay.
Vicious.
The last question is back to me, so if you guys are cool, I'll wrap this up with basically a scene on this world that we've created.
I think it's time. We have a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Introducing a character. It's a character and a scene. By the way, what was the name of that creature that you described? Graviton?
Glint.
A glint.
Ooh.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
cool.
So this guy, there's a guy, his real name is Androgynous. Androgynous Com. C-O-M. Androgynous Com is his real name, but his friends call him Lift. And he is known as a salvager, but it's really a thief, but they call him salvagers because during the moon time is when they start robbing stuff and tearing off little bits of valuable devices and stuff from the different places and the buildings. And his name's Lift because he's really skilled at jumping high into the air and swinging around with the hooks and stuff. And he's basically got sandy blonde hair. He's ruggedly handsome, and he's got a gun, like a pistol, on a holster. Brown boots with a bit of metal on them as well, and leather pants with kind of extra camo pocket, like cargo pants pockets, and like a leather little jacket, leather vest thing, and just a white shirt underneath. Some space goggles that hang around his neck, and that's Lift. And no one else knows this, but his sidekick is actually a rock bite that hangs out in his ear, talking to him, and he's figured out a way to communicate to it. And the rockbite's nickname is called Bronzo. Bronzo the rockbite. So Bronzo's in his ear, and they're a team together. They're the pair. It's Lift and Bronzo. And Lift and Bronzo walk into a bar after, cashing in a successful salvage, stash that he did after the last full moon, or whatever it is, the last monthly mating season festival. And he sits down and he gets a drink at the bar, and he's bragging, and there's some scandalous kind of gritty ladies that come and hang off him and try and get drinks, and he definitely enjoys that and gives them drinks, and he's known around, everyone gives him high fives and stuff because everyone in this gritty bar looks up to Lift. And there's a mysterious man sitting on one of the counters, sitting on another booth, and he's showing someone else, actually he's showing some other guys something on a glowing hologram tablet that's showing a screen. And something on the screen catches Lift's eye instantly. It's a radiant green glowing orb that just he'd never seen anything like that before. And he walks over and they hush up when he gets close, and there's two surly looking bounty hunter looking type dudes sitting there at the table that this other guy's showing the hologram image to. And what do you guys? What's that? Nothing. Mind your own business. No, what was it? I want in on this. And he, and they look at him, and the eyes flash with steel, and they all confront each other. And he puts his hand on his holster, and they're like, okay, like show him, because they know Lift is about us anyway. So he sits down with them, and then he shows him, and he's got this little hologram image of this glowing golden green gem that's like an orb. And he goes, what is that? And he goes, that is a glint egg, and it's a treasure, and I want to set you guys on this task to go and collect it, and I'll pay you 100,000 galactic credits for this glint egg. And so that's the mission, and that's basically the scene.
It's the start of a campaign right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
That was good, dude.
Yeah. So that's the start of the story on the planet we made.
In like 30 minutes, we put that together, basically, more or less, give or take.
Yeah. Yeah, now that was pretty cool, hey? I mean, we obviously can always, nothing's perfect, and if we did write this into a book, we would touch it up a lot. But I think it's interesting how quickly we made
maybe less farts.
Yeah, less farts. Yeah. And I apologize to any women that have to listen to us four guys here making it so crass, but it is what it is,
Edit it all.
It is what it is.
Nah, I'm not going to edit it out. We'll leave it in. But the interesting...
That's a cool way to do a build, though. That's
no kidding.
Wow. I mean, we have all the ammunition now, though, don't we? It was interesting how quickly we have this world with different phenomenon, different races, cities, locations, and pretty much all the stuff you would need to then start writing stories within it,
Yeah,
in fact, we could all...
doing it as well.
Yeah, and we'll get better at doing it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
But we could even go off and write little short story scenes like the one I just did, each of us, and then see what ongoing stories are occurring on this world that we created on Sump, Planet Sump.
Planet Sump. Yeah, that would be good. I think that, just like to take the world jam, build it really fast, and then write like a flash fiction piece on it or something.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
Cool.
Good one, guys. All right. Well, let's go to the next question here. Most awkward fantasy crush. It doesn't have to be a human. I love this question. So, Demolition Dent, do you have an awkward fantasy crush from when you were a kid that was like a random... For me, it was the freaking pink bunny from the Tiny Toons episode, and it was just so ridiculous. I was like 7 years old. It's like a pink cartoon bunny, my crush. And Finn had the girl from Ghost in the Shell, which was she was pretty hot, so that makes sense. But what's yours? Oh no, he had the Lola fish from Fishtail. That was his weird one.
That's right. Yeah, I was just trying to remember. I had this flash of inspiration. It was the fish from Shark Tale of all things.
Oh yeah, Shark Tale. Sorry, not Fishtail. So yeah, Demolition Dent. What's your version of that?
Yeah, look, a couple of things come to mind, but it's kind of weird.
That's the point.
One was Bugs Bunny's girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's hot for a rabbit. I think it's the girl, Donald Duck's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea why those people came to mind.
Oh.
Melissa Duck is also a babe. I just looked her up. And Bugs Bunny's girlfriend was kind of... See, these bunnies, they're always getting... It's funny, you had a bunny, I had a bunny, too.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
It's like father and son.
We were talking about this,
Going for these damn bunnies. Going crazy.
Yeah, well, the Playboy symbol, right? It's probably that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be. These animators know what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then what about you, Graviton Flux or Dean? What's your awkward fantasy crush? Doesn't have to be a human, could be anything from any story.
Oh, I had a couple.
He's a player. He's a fantasy crush player. He's got multiple. What's this?
Oh my goodness!
One in every town.
I'm scared. I'm
Yeah,
scared
right.
to know. Honestly, I'm scared to find out.
You won't be surprised, at least by one anyway.
One.
First one, oddly enough, you guys remember a character in Blade Runner named Pris,
Yeah.
the replicant that was Rutger Hauer's girlfriend. That was one, and then another one was Michelle Pfeiffer in Lady Hawk. Her name was Isabeau in the movie. Those two kind of came to mind right off the bat.
Those are great choices.
Well, he's just got normal, good-looking ladies, doesn't he? What's wrong with the rest of us?
He missed that degenerate phase of animated hot ladies.
Yeah. Exactly.
The chick in Arcane, the main character is kind of cool, I think.
Which one's that?
Oh, in
Yeah,
in Arcane?
Arcane.
Jinx?
Yeah.
In Arcane? Yeah. Okay. Hey, there you go. That's an updated. That's a good to
That's a
say.
weird one.
Good to see you're staying updated, Dad.
Yeah, I could see that. It's kind of cute, kind of goth, like cyberpunk
Yeah, I
goth.
completely agree. Right there. That's
So, last question here for everyone. We'll start off. I think me and Finn have answered this one a couple of times. So we'll start with Demolition Dent again. If you can live in one fantasy world for a year, which one is it? And what are you going to do in there for that year? Could be anything: book, movie, show, cartoon.
I mean, as a kid, I was always, when I finished Lord of the Rings, and I went, in my idea, I couldn't reread the book. But like, once you've read it, and that was it. I don't know why I thought that, because later on you can reread. But I thought, okay, well, that's the end of that. And the world around me is a miserable place in my mind at that time, and didn't really have any future prospects. And I thought, that sucks, because I can't just live in that world. But I did want to live in that world. And if I did live in there, I would definitely probably want to just go and hang out with the hobbits and eat lots of food, and just live in those underhill houses that they've got. They're cool, and the way that they're all neat. And then sort of you could adventure out from there and go and check out all the different lands and all the forests and see the elves and all that sort of stuff. That would have been amazing.
It's awesome, yeah. It's deep and also wholesome. Profound
I'd
statement
live in the
about
Shire. I
life.
completely agree. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Good food too.
Yeah, the food always sound amazing. Second breakfast. In fact,
Yeah.
right after this podcast, I'm going to have first and second breakfast. All right. What about you, Graviton Flux?
I still to this day remember the feeling I had reading Dune the first time. I was a teenager, Frank Herbert's Dune, and I always thought it would be really cool to live in that desert with that kind of technology and the factions of people that between the Fremen and the Harkonnens and the Atreides. It's just really a fascinating world to me, and I still remember it.
I have to say that's a hardcore answer because, man, I would not want to live there. Man, that'd be so. It's so
there's
hard.
something about how he wrote it. It was very invasive in my imagination. I felt as I was reading it at that age. When you're a teen,
Yeah.
everything is ultra pronounced. You feel more than adults do. It left an impression. Like I said, I remember it to this day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do. I did read those recently, and it's very well written and definitely immersive world, and definitely for me, definitely it'd be quite harsh, but I could see the aspect of the adventure of it and just that reality of like that epic scale adventure kind of thing. Big stakes, high stakes action.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Big sandworms.
Yeah, the sandworm.
Big problems.
Whoa.
Big nukes.
Yeah.
Ornithopter.
Crazy.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
I'd like to have one.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, yeah, I think Finn said, what did you say?
I was trying to remember. I think the first one I said was John Carter. Actually, I do Mars, and as Edgar Rice Burroughs saw it, which is interesting. It's a harsh world, but also it's a chance for adventure.
And all the space babes.
Similar to Arrakis, yeah.
And all the space babes.
Space babes. Yeah, so that's the main reason I can dress it up, but it's really space babes. Deja Thoris. Honestly, why did I pick her for my first fantasy crush? I think it's because I read John Carter much later, but yeah, Deja Thoris has my heart. My goodness.
Yeah, I remember that from the movie, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about her.
Yeah. How dare you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm ashamed.
Yeah, I think I said Dragon Ball Z for the first time. I probably would still stick with that. But also, also Pokemon. It'd just be so good to live in Pokemon world and just roll around, just hunting Pokemon and having fun. Misty was always a babe, Yeah.
That's awesome. No, Pokemon's a good answer.
All right, guys. Well, it's been great.
Good questions.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a lot of fun today. We'll bring it to a close, and it's so funny how quick it goes. And even if no one else enjoys listening to us four speak, it was enjoying just for us four to speak together. It's like fun for us too.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure.
That's the fun. It's just a blast to do it together.
Thanks for letting me hop in.
Yeah,
had a lot of good.
Yeah, likewise.
Glad you were here. No, it was fun. Both of you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on.
You guys.
Yeah, you too.
I ain't tired. No, strength of the wolf and lion. Slay the tyrant. All this gold's in my hands. I ain't tired. No.